Still in the air. It's crazy, bro.
It came without warning. No sirens. No chance to run. Just a wall of wind and then silence. This is not a movie. This is Largo, Florida. Welcome to a disaster that turned an ordinary town into a war zone. Don't forget to subscribe because these are the stories mainstream news skips. At 2:38 a.m., while most residents of Largo were asleep, the sky cracked open. What meteorologists later classified as an EF3 tornado, with winds topping 225 kilometers per h, tore into the city with a fury few could imagine. Local radar barely caught it in time. No time to issue alerts. No chance to hide. In a matter of minutes, the twister carved a 15-kilometer path of destruction through Pinellas County, flattening everything in its way.
We absolutely just got hit.
Entire streets were reduced to splinters. Roofs were ripped off like paper. Trees older than the state itself snapped in half, blocking every escape route. In Ridge Road, a mobile home park was obliterated. Rescue workers found cars upside down, beds thrown into swimming pools, and fridges lodged in trees. One survivor said, "I went to sleep in a house and woke up in the sky." Families stumbled into the night barefoot, bleeding, shaking, searching for loved ones. In the dark, flashlight beams cut through the dust like searchlights in a war zone. A father carried his daughter, unconscious but breathing, through the ruins of what used to be their kitchen. A nurse, trapped in her apartment, texted a single word to her mother: "Help." The silence after the wind passed, deafening, like the air itself didn't know what had happened. Within hours, over 250 emergency calls flooded Largo Dispatch. Fire crews, police, and volunteers worked non-stop clearing roads, pulling people from crushed buildings, and setting up temporary triage zones in parking lots. Helicopters hovered over blacked-out zones, scanning for heat signatures. Drones guided ground teams where GPS signals had failed. And yet, they still weren't enough. For some homes, help came 12 hours too late. Local hospitals were overwhelmed within minutes. A makeshift emergency room was set up at Largo High School. Over 180 injuries, including children with head trauma, elderly with broken limbs, and dozens suffering from shock. Doctors stitched wounds by flashlight. Volunteers passed out bottled water and emergency blankets. Psychologists walked between cots, talking people out of panic attacks. For some homes, help came 12 hours too late. Power? Gone. Water? Contaminated. Gas leaks? Everywhere. Thousands of families huddled in candlelight, hoping cell service would come back. Stores were raided not for theft, but for bread and batteries. One mother said, "We didn't just lose our homes. We lost control of our lives." By morning, Largo was trending worldwide. Photos of twisted buildings and injured toddlers filled timelines. But for the people living it, there was no time to tweet. They were still trying to find shelter. Florida's governor declared a state of emergency. FEMA arrived within 24 hours. But for many, that help came after they'd already lost everything. Beyond the broken glass and fallen walls are stories. A couple whose wedding album blew into the sea. A grandmother who clung to her Bible as her roof lifted off. A 12-year-old who now flinches at the sound of thunder. This wasn't just a tornado. It was trauma, destruction, and loss wrapped in 90 seconds of hell. And yet Largo stands. Neighbors sharing food. Churches opening doors. Volunteers arriving from out of state. They say disaster shows who you really are. And in Largo, Florida, the people are louder than the storm. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. These voices deserve to be heard.